thank you so much for being here for this very special rally to promote the Save America Act and also to stand against ranked choice voting. I'm Jenny Beth Martin with Tea Party Patriots Action. Thank you so much for being here. To kick us off, we are going to start with Sally. I wanted to make sure I have the name right. Sally Duncan, who is going to do an invocation for us. Thank you so much, Sally.
If you please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for this event, and we thank you for Scott for coming here and being willing to help us get rid of ranked choice voting and to take care of the Save America Act. He has done so much, and we so appreciate him, and we ask that you cover him with your love and with your care. We ask that you bless this event and make it successful. And we ask that you bless every person here and help them be part of what they need to be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sally. And just watch that. Thank you, Sally. And now we're going to do the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. And Robert McNeely is going to lead that. He is on the team at Tea Party Patriots Action. And you may recognize him if you've watched Right Side Broadcasting Network, because he was there until about 8 days ago. So come on up, Robert.
Hey, David. God bless Alaska. Who's excited to see Jenny Beth Martin? Arizona, State 48, they're a little bit louder. Who's excited to see Jenny Beth Martin? Okay. And of course, he's talking back there with his fans. He always does. Scott Pressler. But first of all, let's honor our great nation, this great flag of ours, and its time-tested beauty, 250 years as we are going to save America in this golden era. Please sing with me as we share in the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Jenny Beth, I want to say that it was kind of wild touring Alaska yesterday. Greg was great driving us through this interior of this beautiful state. But you know what's more wild? The fact that we have ranked choice voting. What do we think about that? Are we going to get rid of it in November? Yeah. I think so. And then I was watching the Alaska channel, and I was a part of KTUU a few years back in the great city municipality of Anchorage. And I noticed that a certain Senator Lisa Murkowski had an ad running for the last decade or so. She thinks that she has to give up this beautiful land, which it is, to go serve all of you in Washington, D.C. Oh, bless her heart. She's working so hard for the people of Alaska. Do we have a message for Senator Murkowski? Should she pass the Save America Act? Well, once again, with no further ado, Ms. Jenny Beth Martin.
Thank you so much, Robert. I'm so glad he's part of our team. And as he said, he was a news anchor in Anchorage. He also worked with Charlie Kirk, helping get Turning Point USA off the ground. He worked for Charlie for about 5 years. So we are here today for two reasons. One, we want to send a message to Senator Murkowski and all of these senators in the United States Senate that we want to see the Save America Act passed. This is such simple, common sense legislation. There are two main things about it. The first one is that we want only American citizens voting in American elections. It's pretty simple. And the way the Save America Act addresses that is to ensure that when you register to vote, you show your proof of citizenship. It can be your birth certificate, it can be your passport or other documentation that would prove you are a citizen. If you are a naturalized citizen, it'd be your immigration paperwork. It's pretty simple. It only happens when you register to vote. That's it. So if you move, you probably triggers re-registering. If you're already registered, you stay registered and nothing changes. The other thing that it does to help with ensuring only American citizens vote is it sends the voter files to the Department of Homeland Security, and it meshes those two databases together, and then it simply ensures that if there are non-citizens on the voting rolls, the Department of Homeland Security will flag those potential non-citizens, send them back to the state, and the state will further investigate. If the person is a citizen, they may have to come in and show proof of citizenship, and they stay on the voter rolls. If they're not and they cannot prove they are a citizen, they would then be removed. Pretty simple, and it means we don't have to all go re-register to vote. The other thing that it does is it requires voter ID when we're casting a ballot to ensure we are who we say we are when we're grabbing that ballot. Again, pretty simple, pretty common sense. President Trump has added three other provisions to this very important piece of legislation. One is limits on mail-in balloting. The other two, and these are all so common sense. These two are also very common sense. No men and women's sports, no boys and girls sports. So women only in women's sports. Pretty simple. I can't believe that as a woman, we have to fight for that. And that the Democrats somehow say women can't figure out how to register to vote. So they make no sense. They contradict themselves often. Then the other thing is that you can't mutilate children. And that is the other thing. So no child mutilation for these so-called transgender surgery on minors. That's it. These are common sense initiatives, and this is why we are here today. The other reason that we are here, besides the Save America Act, is because this state has ranked choice voting. And it's horrible. And honestly, your convoluted ranked choice voting system, I think it affects all Americans, because I watched as you had a congressional seat that did not stick with a Republican because the system was so convoluted, it wound up being a Democrat getting elected. Look, if a Democrat wins fair and square, a Democrat wins. When you twist the system and manipulate the system and rig the system and confuse voters, that is not fair. That is not winning fair and square. And so I'm against ranked choice voting, and I'm just here to make that stand and plant that flag in the ground as well. So here's the way the rest of the program is going to work, just so that you're aware of how we're going to work today. I am first going to be introducing Carmela Warfield, who will give a few brief remarks. Then Scott Pressler, the one and only and the great Scott Pressler. I'll introduce him, and he'll be speaking. When Scott finishes, I will also give more details on the Save America Act. And then when we finish with that, we are going to go to Q&A. So we're going to try to keep the comments a bit condensed so we can do Q&A. And then afterwards, Scott and I will make sure you're able to get photos and that we get all of that with everyone who wants it. So before I introduce Carmela, I do want to give a few shout outs to a couple of important people who are here. And the first one is Lane Nichols, who is the owner of this wonderful car dealership, Jeans Chrysler. Thank you, Lane, for hosting us. Thank you, sir. Then the other one is the Republican Party National Committee woman, Cynthia Henry, who is here today. Thank you, Cynthia, for being here. Thank you. And now, allow me to introduce the Alaska State Republican Party chairwoman, who is here only in her own individual capacity supporting grassroots patriots, Carmela Warfield. Come on up, Carmela. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, everyone. This is where we're keeping the sunshine today, is what I think. It's beautiful today. It's so good to be here with everyone. First, I want to ask you to join me in thanking Jenny Beth and Scott and their teams for coming all the way up here to the great state of Alaska. Thank you so much for being here and visiting us. I also want to take a second and just thank all of the folks around that are joining everyone here today, all the volunteers. Jennifer, if you could just raise your hand. I know you're probably out working somewhere, but thank you so much for all your hard work, and to everyone who's volunteering to be here and help today. All you great, hardworking Republicans. And thank you to also our friend, to your point, Jenny Beth Lane Nichols. Thank you so much for hosting and to allow everyone to gather here and all that you do. I want to tell you, I think I don't have to say much about my personal opinion and where I stand and what I'm looking forward to, seeing ranked choice voting going away. I believe in our voting system that we've known for 250 years, and I look forward to seeing ranked choice voting repealed come fall. So I'm not going to tie you up for too long, because I know who you're here to hear, who you're here to see, and who you're here to hear from today. And that's hear more from Jenny Beth, to meet our friend Scott Pressler, who I've known for some time, and to thank all of you. 2026 is a critical election cycle, not just to Alaska, but to the country. So in preparation of that, we're already all working hard, and I ask you to come volunteer, get involved, and be a part of our great party and our great country, and get involved with your districts, get involved locally, and support our candidates. Thank you all so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time, and thank you to you and your team, and to Scott for being here. Jenny Beth, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Carmela, and thank you for everything you're doing in your volunteer capacity to be here supporting us, and also as a volunteer for the State Republican Party. It takes a lot of time and effort and a huge commitment from both you and your husband, Jason, who is here with you today. So let's just thank them one more time for everything they do for Alaska. Okay, so before we bring up our next speaker, the main guest, let's make sure everybody has a sign. So we're gonna give a few more signs out, and then Robert here, can give them out, and then we're gonna do a little cheering with our signs. So let's make sure everybody has a sign. And in the back, Jason is helping, and Jason is just amazing. He and Carmela got up at 3 a.m. this morning to be here, and they're going to be in Anchorage, of course, with us tomorrow as well. All right. So we're just making sure everybody has signs. And if you're watching this on a live stream, you're welcome to share it and thumbs up it and like it, and make sure that other people see it, because getting the Save America Act passed is so very important. Okay, so we are here because we want the Save America Act passed. Before Scott comes up, I think we should just do a little bit of cheering and get this crowd energized so we can welcome Scott in style. So if you will hold your sign up, and we're going to yell, pass the Save America Act. We're going to chant it. So it's going to be pass the Save America Act. And we'll do it several times. And Ty here is going to do some filming, and we'll get some photos. So ready? Pass the Save America Act. 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 And let me just find out, do you want Lisa Murkowski, Senator Murkowski, to pass this legislation? Woo! All right, now your next speaker is the main speaker for today. Let me just tell you one thing about this man before he comes up. This man is from the grassroots. He loves the grassroots. I have watched him in action. He will look you in the eye. He will remember your name. He is committed to our values, and he wants to save this great country. And he crisscrosses the country. I crisscross the country. We're kind of like ping pong balls, but we love this country. And Scott's passion and his graciousness to every single grassroots activist is something every person who is in leadership in the conservative movement should watch and look to, because he is a true leader. Please join me in welcoming Scott Presler with Early Vote Action. Woo! Scott! Woo! Woo! Scott! Thank you.
And before we start, kind of squeeze in, I'm going to take a photo because we're going to scare the Democrats that we're going to defeat ranked choice voting this November. So hold up your signs big together, please. Can you please get a photo of Jenny and me with the entire crowd, please? Okay, look extra cute because this is going to like 1 million people. Yeah, side. Okay, now go to video mode. Okay, so I'm going to do a little brief introduction, and then when I say pass the Save America Act, I want you guys to explode with energy. You got it? You got it, Rock and Ruby, Waverly? You got it? Okay, tell me when we're filming. Hey everybody, this is Scott Presler. I'm here with Jenny Beth Martin, and we are in Fairbanks, Alaska, because respectfully and peacefully, we must put pressure on Senator Murkowski to do the right thing. We demand proof of citizenship. We demand photo voter ID, and 84% of Americans want the Save America Act. Let's go! Cut. Thank you. Perfect. Well, gosh, Fairbanks, Alaska. This is like a small town, this amount of people, right? Because you guys don't have a lot of folks. It's my first time in your state, and thank you for welcoming me. I was just in Idaho. I was just in Arizona. I was just in Virginia. I was just in Texas. I was just in Florida. But I had to make time for the 49th state. Now, many of you might know me from Pennsylvania. Yes, I did move to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and bought a house just to vote for Donald J. Trump. But I'm here for another reason, because you guys are a conservative state. We have a Republican governor. We have 2 Republican senators, and yet we can't pass a significant piece of legislation that the American people demand, and that is so necessary in the great state 49. I'm going to say a couple pieces of legislation, and based on what you know about it, I either want you to cheer or give me applause or even boo. And if you don't know the legislation, you don't have to say anything, because I want members of Congress that see this to know what the people of Alaska actually care about. So, piece of legislation number 1, the Road to Housing Act. You guys don't know what that is. See, Congress, they don't know. They don't know what it is. The Dignity Act. No, that's amnesty. We don't want that one. The Save America Act. So clearly, Congress needs to get its act together. Now, I will say the House is doing its job. I have nothing bad to say about Speaker Mike Johnson. He is one of the most narrow majorities in American history, and yet he's able to pass legislation and pass the Save America Act 218 to 213. Now, where do we stand with Save America? Well, we tried to attach the Save America Act to the budget reconciliation package. It failed 48 to 50. 4 Republican senators voted against attaching Save America to the budget reconciliation. They were Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. And it's unfortunate because the American people, 84% of us demand it. And if we can't pass legislation that 84% of us agree with, what are we going to get done? Nothing. So I'm here for 2 reasons. One, this November, because of the grassroots, because of you, and I'm looking at people like Kelly. Where are you? Oh, Kelly. Barbara, your work on this initiative as well. Thank you to every person that got repealing ranked choice voting on the ballot for this November. Thank you, the grassroots. This is called ballot initiative number 2. And if you vote yes in the affirmative to it by a majority vote, a plurality vote, you will repeal ranked choice voting for the 2028 presidential Alaskan elections. Now, my great state 49, when is Lisa Murkowski up for election? So, if we do our job and we repeal RCV, I hear a governor by the name of Dunleavy might be running for the United States Senate against Murkowski in 2028. This is the way that we have to think. We have to be forward thinking. We have to be methodical. We have to be strategic. And in order for us to have a successful 2028, it starts this year. I also firmly support your 2 petitions on the table. One, you're a state of 700,000 people. There is no reason why we can't hand count our own ballots in the great state 49. You have 700,000 people. Why are we splitting up our local elections to go in October instead of having all of the elections when there will be more people voting in November? I mean, am I speaking common sense? I know I look like a liberal, but I'm not. They were like, Scott, are you going to be cold when you come to Alaska? I was like, bro, I have a built-in fur coat. I'm good. And after y'all, I will be heading to Anchorage, Alaska, but I had to come to the first city, and that was Fairbanks. I want you to know you are seen, you are heard, you are valued, you are acknowledged, and where I go, it brings national attention for the entire country to see you, the people of Fairbanks, Alaska. But I need your help because I will be leaving at some point, and I don't want this enthusiasm to dip. I don't want it to wane. I need you. Connect with people like Rackin' Ruby right here in the front. Connect with Barbara and Kelly and Shelly. Notice, women are the backbone of our Republican Party. And speaking of women, I do want to clear up a couple things because if if anyone has a relationship with Senator Murkowski, please, I say this earnestly. I know that I have been an attack dog lately, and I don't mean to go rabid. That's not my intent. But I want people to know there has been miscommunication on the Save America Act. And its current form, the only thing that it does is require proof of citizenship and photo voter ID. Now, some people, the Democrats, think that women are incapable for some whatever reason of getting an ID. And so I know we have men in the audience, but this is to our women. Women, especially married women, do you know where your birth certificate is? Women, do you know where your marriage certificate is? Women, is there anything upon the passage of the Save America Act that would stop or prohibit you from voting this year? There we go. It was Lisa. She tried to turn it off. So please, can I get your commitment that you will call once a day until we pass the Save America Act into law? That number is 202-224-3121, or that one that Ruby said. But the one for the switchboard is 3121. So yes, 202. I'm going to get it tattooed on my forehead. 202-224-3121. That is the Capitol Senate switchboard for the entire United States Senate, including Sullivan, including Begich, who we need to keep here in Alaska. No Peltola. So with that being said, my partner in crime over here, I do want to welcome, and we're going to take Q&A afterwards, but can we please welcome to Fairbanks, Alaska, Jenny Beth Martin of Tea Party Patriots.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's just give it up for Scott Pressler one more time. He is so amazing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of the Save America Act and elaborate on what Scott was talking about. But before I get into that, I want to talk about what happened last weekend on Saturday night. Scott and I were in Arizona in Scottsdale, and he was giving the speech, and I got a text message through Signal, and it said that shots have been fired at the dinner in DC. And at first I thought it's a diner, and I'm quickly looking to figure out what happened. And I got on X and I realized shots have been fired at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And went and got information and was able to verify. You never know if what you're seeing on social media these days is true or not, but I was able to verify it because C-SPAN had footage of what had just happened. And as we all have learned since then, there were shots at the dinner that President Trump and many members of the cabinet and the vice president and the Speaker of the House were all attending. The third assassination attempt on the greatest president in our lifetime, Donald J. Trump. And we're not clapping for the third assassination attempt, but let's do clap. But we can clap, and we should, because I know where that was coming from. He is the greatest president we've had in our lifetimes, and I think he ranks up there with the founding fathers and Abraham Lincoln. And of course, like all of you, I was horrified to see this, and I had to go be the bearer of the news after Scott had spoken and tell the audience what had happened. And then I thought a lot about it that evening and into the next morning, and I've been thinking about it all week. We're living in historic, amazing historic times. President Trump won re-election twice. Because I would, officially Biden was president and officially Biden won, but President Trump was reelected to the second term against absolutely all odds. Absolutely all odds. On January 20th, 2021, no one, well, maybe a few of us, but not a lot of people thought President Trump would ever be president again. And as he was running in 2024, he had 2 assassination attempts. And I think that, and all of the targeting and all of the lawsuits and all of the lawfare and the indictments, and I'm from Georgia. Originally, our office is in Georgia, and just everything that happened to him in Fulton County, Georgia. Horrible. And this man, after he is literally shot, he gets up and he yells, "Fight, fight, fight." After the second attempt, and we know this because Speaker Johnson has posted about it, he was with Speaker Johnson in Florida in Mar-a-Lago, and they talked a lot about his place in history. They talked a lot about God. They talked a lot about the meaning of life that day. And I think that everything we have been watching him do since he became reelected is in absolute 100% commitment to what is best for America. He loves this country. He does not have to be president again. He could have just gone off into the sunset. He didn't have to challenge the outcome of the elections when we all saw the problems in 2020. He could have just very politely and neatly put everything away and been gracious and walked away. I would say stealing an election is not gracious, but the point is he could have done all of that. And instead he stood up and he fought. And he's made it clear that he is trying to make America great again. And when he says he puts America first, I believe him, because he could have done anything other than what he's doing right now. And last weekend, when there was another attempt on his life, what did he do? He decides he was trying to go back into that room where shots had been fired and continue the dinner. And the next morning I heard him say, it's because I don't want this to change the country. He's willing to risk everything and put himself on the line because he loves our country so much. And I travel this country, and I am in Washington, D.C. a few times a month, which I would say is a few times too many. I really don't like being there. And I get into Washington, D.C., and there are these people who are on Capitol Hill or work around Capitol Hill or are consultants or whatever, and they are acting as if November's election is decided and that the Republicans will lose the majority control in the House and the Senate. And they're trying to figure out how they manipulate everything so they have some power left while they're in the minority. And here's what I think: the best way to ensure you have power after November, after the elections on election day in November, is to exercise your power right now and keep your promises, do what you said you're going to do, and then people will reelect you. It's pretty simple. Then you don't have to worry about what you're going to do in the minority, and you can figure out what else you can do in the majority. And that's part of the reason that we are here. I have not given up on November, and I, like President Trump, am not giving up on our country. My organization, Tea Party Patriots, was targeted by the IRS. And if you donated to Tea Party groups back then, in 2010 through 2013, you were 6 times more likely to be individually audited by the IRS. We had groups that the IRS was asking for the list of membership, the back-end access to the website, contents of prayers spoken at meetings, list of books that people had. They wanted names of donors that they had no business asking for, no legal right to whatsoever. And we stood up to it. There were some groups who simply had to fold because they could not afford the financial obligation that it took a volunteer to defend themselves against the IRS. But we continued standing. I went through that and I was like, I am not backing down. I'm not going to be intimidated. The weaponization against our organization, the weaponization against me personally, against our donors, I am not stopping. I love this country too much to stop. And I continue to feel the exact same way. And it's easy to do now because we have a president who has had the same kind of thing happen to him, and he never, ever backs down. So now it brings us to the Save America Act, and I'm going to give you a very brief history of how we got where we are today. So some of you, hopefully you do know Cleta Mitchell, who has started the Election Integrity Network. She was President Trump's attorney, one of his attorneys down in Georgia in 2020. And I volunteered on President Trump's legal case back in 2020. I'm not an attorney, just good at organizing people. So I helped match complaints with volunteer attorneys to get affidavits that were used in the lawsuit. She started the Election Integrity Network. She is one of the best election attorneys that we have on the center right. She is a committed conservative, and she is my friend and also a mentor to me and to so many other people in the group. We were in the movement. We were on a call in a meeting with Senator Mike Lee, and I was on by conference call, and she started talking about all of these problems in the election system in Arizona specifically. You see, in Arizona, they require proof of citizenship to register to vote. It was a ballot initiative, and they've had this for well over a decade, and they got challenged, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court came in and ruled that yes, they can require proof of citizenship to register to vote if you are voting in statewide elections and state and local elections. But if you require it, you cannot require it for federal office. You can have it, but you cannot require it because they must accept the National Voter Registration Act, which we think of as a motor voter law, the form to register to vote from that. That form simply requires a check mark saying you are a citizen, not proof of citizenship. Yes, I am a citizen. You sign it, you check it, and that's it. You must accept it because that stems from federal law, and federal law is the supreme law of the land. So here's what happens in practicality because of that lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court. And the judges and the justices did the right thing because they did not create new law from the bench. And I am a conservative. I do not think that we need new law from the bench. You interpret the law. If the law doesn't work, you go fix the law through the legislative process so that we have the ability to hold the people accountable, which is what we're trying to do now. So here's what it means in practicality in Arizona. If you've proven that you're a citizen, you get your ballot and you can vote for president, Senate, Congress, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, school board, state rep, all the way down to their most local office, which is actually precinct committee man, all the way down. If, however, you have not shown proof of citizenship in a border state, mind you still are able to get a ballot and vote for president, Senate, and Congress. I'm like, this is completely wrong. It affects the Electoral College. It affects the makeup of Congress. It affects the makeup of the Senate. And they are a border state. The border is completely insecure. At the time it was, and this is a huge problem. So this is back in 2024, in January 2024. And I knew about these problems since 2021 and had been working on it. Cleet is talking about it. Senator Mike Lee is on the call. I text message Mike Lee and I say, we've got to pass a law to fix this because it could affect the outcome of our election. This is wrong. It affects every American. This is a border state. It is wrong. And they have 43,000 people who can get these ballots where they haven't proven citizenship. So he starts working on a bill, and he worked on the bill with Congressman Chip Roy and also with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson went and we did polling from Tea Party Patriots Action, gave that to Speaker Johnson. He showed it to the president. The president supported the effort. They called it the Save America Act. They called it the SAVE Act, and at the time it handled proof of citizenship to register to vote. And that was all that it was doing. Then it expanded to handle voter ID. They passed it in 2024. It went nowhere, and Joe Biden was president, so it would have been very difficult to pass it into law, even if they'd gotten it through the Senate. Then last year in 2025, the House of Representatives passed it again. And it went to the Senate, where it again died, and it went nowhere. And then we did a bus tour all over the country from California to North Carolina, and from Wisconsin to DC. And we're ginning up support for this bill. Then in January of this year, the House took it up again, and Congressman Brian Stile from Wisconsin championed this effort along with Speaker Johnson and Chip Roy, and they added on voter ID. Now, the way that they did this is the Senate had passed a bill, and it was a veterans bill. So they passed the bill, they sent it over to the House of Representatives. The House, they stripped everything out of that bill, put an amendment in, and the amendment is the Save America Act. And that included the voter registration and voter ID. The proof of citizenship for voter registration, voter ID. They sent it back over to the Senate, and in the Senate, then because of the way they handled it, because it went from the Senate to the House and back, it was considered a message. So it did not require 60 votes to get debate open on the bill. Normally it does because of cloture. Senator Mike Lee was pushing for a talking filibuster, where once it was open, you would have to debate the bill until the time ran out. And the way the time would run out in a talking filibuster is that each senator would be able to speak as long as they're physically able, with 2 speeches, and as long as they don't lean on anything, leave the chamber, or sit down. So that means, at some point they're going to run out of time. It might be 36 hours if they're somehow have a lot of stamina, but at some point they would run out of time. The parliamentarians said that wasn't going to work, and I think part of the reason for it was all these amendments it could be on, even if the amendments were not germane. And so it opened debate, but it wasn't a talking filibuster the way that we wanted. To close debate, because it isn't the talking filibuster, we have to have 60 votes to end the debate. That means we need all of the Republicans plus a handful of Democrats voting for it. And then you would need the vote for the final passage. So what I really would like to see the Senate do is to overrule the parliamentarian, allow for the talking filibuster, debate the bill till it ends, pass it with a simple majority, and make sure that Senator Murkowski votes for this bill. And now I've listened to Murkowski, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. But I've listened to Senator Murkowski on the floor, and I think that and you know your state better than I know your state. I have been here in the wintertime, here to Fairbanks to watch the Northern Lights, which are God's gift to humanity. And you live in a very special place where you get to see that all winter long. I know it's incredibly cold, but my goodness, to see that, there's a painting, right? It's just gorgeous. My whole team knows, like every time the KP index is high, I'm like, do you think we might be able to see it even if we're in Miami? So, but you get to see it. So anyway, she says that because of the nature of your state and what happens when you're frozen in and people are not able to get in to turn in that proof of citizenship, your birth certificate, in person, she thinks it creates an unfair disadvantage for people in Alaska. Now, I understand, and there's some people who agree and some people who don't. I've talked to a few people here today and other places. Here's what I would say to that. You know your state better than I do. If that is truly an issue, what I thought of is, why not make it the same as the payment that you get from the pipeline? That requires proof of citizenship to get it, or permanent residency, so proof of permanent residency. You can hand that in person, or you can mail it in with a self-addressed return envelope, and once they verify it, they ship it back out to you. They mail it back out to you. So that's how they're able to overcome that issue if you are living in a remote area completely alone and you can't travel, right? There's a way to get around it. Maybe my solution isn't the best. Maybe you have a better solution. This is your state. What I would urge you to do when you're calling Senator Murkowski, and I'm taking her at her word, and I'm granting her a little bit of leeway here, but if she was sincere when she got on the floor and said of the Senate and said she was opposed to it because she's looking out to you, give her a solution. Tell her what you think the solution should be. And tell her you want to see this bill passed and you want her to figure out how she's going to do it, looking out for Alaskans, and get to yes. And it's that simple. And look, that may mean that Alaska there's a special amendment to the bill that covers your state. Well, okay, that's the nature of legislating. Deal making happens, and President Trump is the greatest deal maker of all times. So encourage her to go figure out how to get to yes. Tell her you want this bill passed because it helps your state, and it also helps ensure that across the entire country, your vote here and your vote in the United States Congress and in the United States Senate is not canceled out because some other state is allowing non-citizens to vote, and it's affecting the majority in the House and the Senate because of non-citizens. Let's get this done. Now, I've told you about the issues that we've had, and it's in the Senate, and it's at a place where we continue to work on it every single day. I am not giving up on this piece of legislation any more than I am giving up on our country. I am not doing it. And I think when it comes to this piece of legislation, when it comes to conservatives controlling the House of Representatives and the Senate, when it comes to making sure that there are not people in the House who on day one in January of next year will impeach President Trump and start impeaching members of his cabinet, not stopping just with him, not giving up on that. And I'm working day in and day out to make sure that we protect that majority and we protect the vote that we cast 2 years ago or a year and a half ago in 2024 when we voted for Trump. Because I can tell you something, our own vote for President Trump will be canceled out if we're fighting impeachment in 9 months from now. I do not want that, and I know none of you want it either. I'm going to do what President Trump said for our country and for this bill every single day between now and November, and then again for the rest of his term. And that is, I am going to fight, fight, fight for America. Thank you so much. And now Scott and I are going to take questions from you, and he'll make his way back up here. But what we can go ahead and do, if you've got questions, go ahead and ask them, and then I'll help answer them, and he'll be up as soon as he finishes with that person. So does anyone have any questions? No questions? Anyone? Oh, well, thank you. All right. Do you have any questions? Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to close out. Go meet Scott and me. We're available for questions one-on-one, and we are happy to do photos and just spend more time with you. Alaska and Fairbanks, thank you so much. I love your state, and I love you. Thank you.